Then welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic. If you're visiting for the first time, you're very welcome. And it is our last Q&A for 2022. We've kept moving it. On Saturday, I had a nightmare with tech, and that's why we're doing it today. And so, painfully, most of our community who live in Asia may not be able to attend, but there's a replay, so you have it archived, and I'm hoping that you would make that access it after the live. Okay, so it's good to have you. Compliments of the season. You can see we're in the mood here in the clinic. And so there were at least two things that I wanted to cover with those who are able to join me today. And just looking at the topic, it's a serious matter. The original topic that we were supposed to at least discuss, give you opportunities to dig in, was supposed to be, the one thing I can guarantee if you do with your child or your children as it pertains to the internet, if you do this one thing that, sure enough, I'm going to be talking about at some point, I can guarantee you that everything will change for you and the child. It's not a magic potion. It's just common sense, really. And I pray that you will use that information when I get to it wisely. Okay? So, yes, compliments of the season for those who are just joining. I can see if you are joining now. I'm so pleased to be hosting this. Just going to give maybe 2 minutes while I blab before I really get into the material. But there's a lot happening, and there's a lot to happen in 2023. And so we really do have a lot of work to do as parents, as guardians, and people that the young ones look up to. Okay? Until at least 2 weeks ago, I didn't know that digital self-harm was a thing. And it is just frightening to consider. Obviously, we've all heard about self-harm. Lots of things are happening that we unfortunately are aware of. And our hearts go towards those who are in that space. But the clinic's mandate is to get parents to engage with their children. And so I've seen an outlet, an opportunity, if you like, to try and do that. It is not too late. Like I said, anyone who has been affected by self-harm, my heart goes out to you 110%. And I'm doing this so that whatever has happened does not happen to another person. Okay? After all, there's a person behind the screen. There's a person behind the avatar. And so I don't want that to happen to anyone that I know, and anyone at all for that matter. And that's why we're spending this hour or less to cover this, okay? Like I said, I'm not pretending to know how busy you all are. To have a live at 7:30 on Monday evening is just incredible. But it's what it is. There are no other dates I can do this. And so I just thought, hey, why can't we chat at 7:30? Okay, so I am looking forward to questions, comments. If that doesn't come, then you have obviously the archive or the replay to do that. Okay. Like I said, I see people dropping in, so I know that one way or the other we would get. My Facebook family are not picking up this live, and there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm sure I'll investigate it later. But Facebook is supposed to have gone live with this. I possibly have caused this because I went live too early, because I could have troubleshooted it. But please forgive me. My Facebook family, if you at all know about the YouTube channel, I'll put the link to the YouTube feed. So it's not live for you, and I apologize for that, okay? All right, so we're going to go straight in to the two topics that I'm going to try and cover today, okay? The first is a sensitive topic. And of course, if this affects you in any way, if you're sensitive to the topic at hand, I would rather you excuse yourself from the meeting, and then possibly reach out anonymously, behind the scenes. I will respect that. But I can assure you that we're sensitively covering this. But the mandate for the channel is just to get parents, and that for us is so key, get parents informed, adequately informed about this topic. And the topic at hand that we'll start with is digital self-harm. Digital self-harm. Okay? I'm no expert on this term. And I haven't been affected in any way or form, or I know anyone who has. I only know what I see and read in the press and online. Okay, so I'm not a master. I am just a lover of children, a lover of the family unit, and a concern about digital self-harm is a concern to me and a concern to the clinic. Okay, so when I saw the term digital self-harm, I was intrigued and I had to do a lot of research. I probably haven't exhausted the research, but I think I have enough to cater for the community, and I am really praying that we take this as sensitively and as seriously as we ought to. Okay, now let me start by attempting to define, because there's so many ways you could look at this, but let me attempt to define what digital self-harm is. And from what we have picked up from the research, it can include any way of intentionally seeking out hurtful content about oneself. So basically, you have an individual who is seeking out a way of intentionally putting negative information, negative content online about yourself. I know you can just try and get your head around that. So digitally, self-harm can include any way of intentionally seeking out hurtful content about oneself. Let me give you an example. You create a negative thing about yourself and you post it. Post it on the. I was just, my head was, all over the place when I realized how much stuff is out there that aids or encourages this behavior. You have a platform where you can anonymously get to and post information about anybody anonymously. And so you have someone who is in this space go to such enterprises and they will upload content or post content to their Facebook page. And so on their Facebook page or Facebook wall, you see this negative content about the person, and you think that a rogue, internet rogues we call them, is trolling the individual. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the individual is the one posting that content about themselves. And I'll give you the reasons why anyone, sadly, will be in this space. Anyone will do this. It is just, you can't get your head around it. Self-harm, as important and as serious as it is one thing. But digital self-harm is another. And that's the one that I feel we can cover, okay? And the one that I feel we can do something about as parents, okay? We can. And so it's not off limits for parents, all right? So digital self-harm, like I mentioned, is a way of intentionally seeking out hurtful or negative content about oneself. So you seek it out, post it, and then you are reading it, you see it, and people who are connected to you also see it. But it's you who have posted it. When I say you, the victim that has posted the content about themselves. Yeah, it's just hard to get one's head around it. But I hope that you are following, okay? So we have that as a start. So that's our baseline. A baseline about digital self-harm. And it's relatively, like I mentioned, I did a lot of research. It's relatively common amongst the kids, students, and high school, or I don't know what they call it again in the UK. But basically, teenagers. It's very common. And now there was a research that was done in 2017, that far back. Meanwhile, the whole digital self-harm concept, I believe, was born or birthed in 2013. But in 2017, a research was done. And let me see if there's people still joining. That's cool. You know, the survey was done between kids who were the ages of 12 and I believe it was 18 or 17. And the survey found the results of the survey, and I don't want to get too technical or I don't want this to be a statistical Q&A, but I'm just giving you the information so you can appreciate how bad this thing is, okay? So among the survey's findings that I picked up on meanwhile, I'll put a link to where I got my content from to give credit to the people who did this, okay? About 35% of the children within that age bracket of 12 and 17 had practiced digital self-harm at least a few times. 35%. So it's not uncommon. It's very common. 13% said they had done it many times. Victims of actual cyberbullying were among those who are likely to self-harm, or another term, self-troll. You know, self-troll rather than people just generally trolling others. You're now or the person is now self-trolling. Okay? Boys were more likely to self-harm, digitally self-harm, than girls. All this was from the research or the study that was done in 2017. Okay? So it is a thing. I know when I posted the Q&A jingle, I said, I was asking the question, is digital self-harm a thing? It is. It is a thing. It is not something I've made up. It is not something that the internet has made up in any way. It is a thing. And it's something that we parents have to get so serious about. Okay? Like every other thing that I say by way of advice, we need to be on the ball. We really do need to be on the ball. There's no excuse to wave this away as just a thing. It's 2022. We're in the internet age. Yes, we are. That's why we must pay attention. It's an age. We need to pay attention to this. This is a serious thing. Of course, we know God keeps us, but He's also given us wisdom. And part of my role in your space as part of this community and any other person wandering by is to make sure that I'm equipping you as best as possible. Okay? That's my job. So it is a term, digital self-harm is a term that has been around since 2013. And it particularly came to the fore after a suicide of a 14-year-old girl. I believe her name was Hannah Smith. And it was in England. So not far. In Leicester. Not far at all. So after the sad passing away of this girl, it was learned that she herself had been a victim of cyberbullying, which you will find out later is a risk factor to digitally self-harm. I'm sort of giving it away, but I might as well jump ahead. But it's prevalent. This digital self-harm thing is prevalent amongst young people. Okay? And that's why we must pay attention, because we embrace and we want to extend our parenting to our young ones, not just at home doing normal things, but the internet, which is now normal, has to be included. And you do well by your child or children if you make that a priority. Okay? Good stuff. All right. So we talked about risk factors. Based on the research again, some of the risk factors that will increase the risk of digitally self-harming will include, but it's not a full list, it's just some things that I picked up. Got the first as sexual orientation, previous experience with online bullying, drug use. We have previous experience with physical self-harm as against digital self-harm, and then mental health problems. So it's not an exhaustive list. It's just some of the risk factors I picked up online from, like I said, the research or the study. The link I will place in the description so you can visit that later on. Okay? So it's a thing. I keep saying it's a thing. I'll keep saying it's a thing because I need it to be in our face, you know? You know that we spend a lot of time. We've spent a lot of time, urging parents to pay attention to what their kids do, what your kids do. I'm speaking to you, so I can speak directly. We're asking you to, engage your children, and will not stop. And finding out that there is an avenue where kids can digitally self-harm makes this even more urgent. Okay? So there's no single explanation for why teens engage in this behavior, the behavior being digitally self-harming. But experts, based on the research that I said I've done, they've reported that there's several common reasons why a young one will self-harm. So we're answering the question now, why do teens engage in digital self-harm? I'm doing this so that you would get your head around it, okay? So why would a child, God forbid, someone you know, but we don't wish this on anybody, but why would a child digitally self-harm? I'll give you a few from the list. To get attention from us, parents. A child could digitally self-harm just to get attention. Okay? Attention from parents, attention from his or her peers. To test their peers' friendship and loyalty. Let me see if I put this information online, whether my friend will even see it and reach out and give me love or give me attention. Yeah, so it's a cry. It's a cry for help. But I'm listing them the way I'm doing it to get attention from parents or peers, to test the loyalty or the friendship of those peers, and to see if low self-opinion of themselves is something that others relate to. I really can't get my head around it, and thankfully so. But sensitively, I hurt just thinking about anyone who is engaged or going through this down low. It's just dark. And some digitally self-harm to prove that they are tough. I'm tough. I can take it. And some do it to get hurt before the actual trolls get to them. It's almost like they want to get a feeling of how how negative content about themselves will feel like. So they want first test of it before someone actually does it. It's almost like they're building some immunity against trolls or cyber bullies. Let me toughen up. So they're throwing, the only example I can use is if you want to jump, and this is very primitive, if you want to jump high or higher, if you're a basketballer and you want to be able to go really high, one primitive way, and it may even be modern now, but one primitive way is to weigh yourself down with weights, and then try and go as high with those weights or those shackles on you. Then when you remove the shackles, you hit the roof. So if you use that analogy, basically, they're putting up this negative content about themselves to toughen up themselves so that if the real thing comes, they're prepared. They've already, give me all you got, basically. You can't hurt me. I've hurt myself already. It is frightening. So some other reasons teenagers or teens self-harm digitally is to regulate emotion, to punish oneself, to combat rejection, to starve off boredom. Some even take it lightly. Some do it to be funny. It's a serious matter. Serious matter. There's nothing funny about digitally self-harming. And so we want to equip you like we do. So we're equipping you so that you know exactly what to look out for. Okay? So it's common amongst boys. And as I said, the research shows that it's more common amongst boys than it is with girls. And it is the main thing that I've highlighted is that through self-pity, these victims are doing this to get attention to themselves. To get attention to themselves. So if they post negative content, perhaps they'll get the attention that they don't have to date. So it's not trivial, and it's not something that we should laugh about. It's not funny. There's so many things that we need to do as parents to dissuade, to discourage, and to comfort anyone that's under your care. And it obviously goes with your children, any person that who is on the web. In fact, I read, as part of my research, that to totally avoid these issues, the only solution to avoiding it totally is to just stay away from the internet. Stay away from the internet. Of course, as the name prescribes, is digital self-harm. So if you are not online, then you will not be digitally self-harmed. God forbid, the alternative is physical. We don't want that for anyone either, but I can only cover the digital self-harming scenario, okay? So we must know that it is not a thing to wave away. It is real. It is real. And if you just pause and just imagine, my child is seeking attention by being destructive, by putting themselves in a vulnerable situation, in a destructive situation where they're getting hurt even more. And so if you imagine if they're doing it to get attention and they're not getting the attention they want, they do more. And God forbid, it goes south very quickly. Okay? So I've sort of laid the foundation. Like I said, I'm not an expert, so I've just done some research just to educate those in the community so that we keep an eye out and continue what we've always been advising, and that's paying attention to what our kids do online. And so I've thought about, okay, so what can parents do? And that's the thing that matters the most to me is how can we help, our young ones? How do we prevent them from being victims? Okay? We don't want this to be a story that we're too connected to. We don't want this for anybody for that matter, but God forbid that close. So we've got to do things. Okay? And please notice I keep saying God forbid because I don't want this for anybody. Okay? So, but what can parents do? What can we do to prevent digital self-harm? Okay? Parents can work, as we've advised numerous times, they can work together with the young one. Lots of things that we've mentioned in the past. We've talked about open door policy. Make sure you don't have walls that prevent your child from connecting. Of course, those walls also prevent you from seeing what they're doing. We have mentioned that if a child is underage, that a laptop, don't ask me what underage is because we're serious here now, okay? But a laptop, to give a laptop to a child, I'm just throwing this out there, to give a laptop to a child who is under 10, no matter how well-meaning you are as a parent, especially with the pressure from school, or the school say they have to have it, and you just give them a laptop to go to their room. Because a laptop, by definition, is not static, is not in one place. A central place where you can look in and see how they're doing. So if you have a laptop, it means that they can take it away. Why would you want to do that for an underage child? School work, I hear you say. But can't you do the same work on a central computer where you would be in the room and you can supervise, not micromanage, but supervise? And you can see what they're doing every now and then. But there are lots of things we can do. And like I said, this is just a frightening situation. I basically, if I still had young ones, actually do, I would do anything to make it work. And the one thing we're saying is that you must maintain open communication. And what would that involve or entail? Open communication would mean that you are actively involved in every facet of your young one's internet journey. Not just one off, okay, you gotta do your own thing. You would know when they're ready to go solo, go it on their own. They're mature. You see them maturing before you. But if you don't see that maturity, why would you want to leave them, exposed? Like I said, you don't know what they're doing unless you are involved in what they're doing. And lightly so that you're not micromanaging and frustrating them. But you must maintain an open communication. And then, of course, through that, you're checking in to what they're doing every now and then. Because I'm saying don't micromanage. If anything, macromanage them so that they know you're there and you're available to be engaged if they need you, but you're not, zeroing in on what they do and making them uncomfortable. You want that open door policy. Okay, so maintain that. So checking in on them and making sure they're good. Look at their profiles every now and then, their social profiles. Like I said, we've announced it as many as often as we can, that the certifications, the age limitations that vendors place on their platforms, online platforms, are there for a reason. They've done research and they've found that content on their platforms are not suitable for a certain age. And so if you think, especially now during Christmas, you feel that you're doing your young one a favor by allowing them to, get onto social media when they're not even 10, or maybe they're 10, and you say, okay, it's time for my son or daughter to go on social media. That's not good. That's not good at all, because what we're doing is we're saying that we're going to be there with them 100% of the time. Because if a vendor says 13 years old or higher, then they've made the assumption based on their research that a 13-year-old will manage things a lot better than a 10-year-old. Of course, there are exceptions. But if you're making an exception for your young one, it would mean that, one, you know them very well and you know they're mature and they've prove it and all that, and you're happy to allow them go onto social media. Or you've decided, okay, they go on social media, but you handhold them. But either way, you are making you're making a decision to go against the advice from the vendor if you're allowing a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, or 12-year-old anywhere near social media, especially the social media platforms for adults. So we're saying that you need to make sure that you are checking in on your young ones as you would do for any other matter. And more importantly, that you're checking their social media profiles. So those two, in my view, would be enough, but I'm going to add another two. So, and this is as part of the communication and the engaging that you are doing now as a parent, we need to avoid judgment. Avoid making a judgment or being judgmental, and listen to them when they speak. Listen to them when they speak and have an open mind. Okay? Have an open mind as you engage them. All these things, if you're just dropping in, all these things we're listing are things that parents can do to help prevent digital self-harm. Okay? So those things are really important. So avoid judgment and listen with an open mind. The fourth is something that I find is lacking, seriously lacking in our world, in this century. It is so painful to see. And part of what I can do, my little bit, is to keep throwing it out there. We need to help build a positive support system for these young ones. You notice every time I talk about parenting, I add guardians, I add babysitters, I add helps. All those people are involved in raising our children. And so there's no reason why only the parent should be doing the digital self-harm prevention. Because if you're going to do it and pay attention to it, and then you have to head off to work and leave your child or children with a guardian, where's the follow-up? Where's the continuity? So it's important for continuity that there's a support system. There's a support system that you've helped build, And if the need arises, involve a professional. At times parents are they don't have the know-how to do this. And I respect those parents because they mean well and they will go out and, look for help. There's professional help. The same way if we feel that our kids are a bit slow in school, I know parents who will engage a tutor. And all the tutor is doing is reinforcing what the teachers are doing. And the parent doesn't have time to follow through or doesn't have the skill. And there's nothing wrong with that. The heart is there to get your child equipped so that they are balanced, And so it may look a tall order, it may feel like it's impossible, but if you do these 4 things, you are so equipped, to engage your children and prevent this, thing from what I'm calling thing is the digital self-harm from being a thing in your home or with anybody you're connected to. Ultimately, we want to rid the world. Not that we can do it, but we can start one person at a time. Okay? We start first with our children. And prayerfully, our children will extend it to their peers, acquaintances, and all that. Okay? So it's important that as parents, to help prevent digital self-harm, we maintain open communication. We check in on our children and check in not just on their physical well-being, but look at their social media health. How healthy is it? Without, being too nosy or being too aggressive or forceful, just check in. Make sure they know you're there and you're reachable at any point in time. Avoid judgment and listen with an open mind is the third point. And finally, help build a super support system that will help them. They can always run to. If dad's not available, mom is. If mom's not available, dad is. If parents are not available, you have uncles, aunties, guardians, and all those people, babysitters, all those people are in that support system. If you have that, then you find that your child is being reinforced by positive support from your loved ones or their loved ones. And it's important, really important, okay? We've sort of gone, we've spent enough time on digital self-harm. I know that was the main topic, but prior to that, we talked about, and we've covered some of it, the one thing that you must do with your child that will 100% guarantee social media joy or online joy, good online relationship without fear or worry. And like I said, we've already mentioned it. The one thing you must do is maintain open communication with your children. If you have open communication with your children, it is a winning strategy. Mouthful. Okay? You're on the winning path if you are speaking to your young one and you have a healthy relationship in the place of communication. You're not leaving things, you're not assuming things. You have a very good rapport with your young one. If that is healthy, then you are on a winning strategy. And I applaud you if that's your reality, if that's your case. That's what we push. Like I said, I'm guaranteeing it. Of course, there's nothing that's 100%. That was clickbait. I don't know whether it worked, but ultimately, I can guarantee success. How much success is another thing, but I guarantee success. That I would add 100% to. Okay? There are measures of success. Imagine if you were not doing it, then you will understand that anything other than the alternative is success. Okay? We don't want our kids frustrated or wounded by online trolls or online bullies. We don't want that. And so if your child is comfortable speaking to you about anything, and I mean anything, you'll be the first to know if he's been cyber bullied. You'll be the first to know if he's seen something that is frightening and disturbing. I could go on, but you get the idea, okay? So communication, which we have said is also important to help prevent digitally self-harming, is also one of the main things, fundamental things that you must do as you allow your children engage online. Okay, I've been blabbing for the last 45 minutes and there are no questions that I can see. Let me just look at the comments. Let me see where they. Okay, well, it's not a comment, but I'm getting Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Rose. Yes. Okay, there are no questions, so there's nothing I can pick up from the comments, so I'll continue. I've spoken about what digital self-harm is. I've talked about the risk factors. I've talked about how parents can prevent digital self-harm. And the last, like I said at the beginning, I'm not in any way an expert, but I can give advice. And I love that I can, and that you take my advice seriously. It's not like I'm wasting my effort. You take it, okay? You take it to heart, and I'm glad that you do that, okay? So it may not be possible for the parent and child to solve this behavior. Like I said, some of us in the community might be experiencing this. This is your reality. This is something you're either living with or someone, okay? The one thing I know that it is not always possible that a parent and a child can solve this on their own. Okay, with all good intentions, you may need an external or professional professional. You need them to come in and look at it and discuss. Ultimately, if your child is open to you, then that's good enough. Then you can bring in the third party in a very subtle way. Don't be aggressive about it, but bring the third party in, and then try to understand the issues together. And of course, with their professional expertise, they'll be able to recommend some things. I do know that there's a crisis text line in the UK, a crisis text line. I wish I could put it. Let me see if I can put it in the comments. Oh, I can. Okay, that's good. So I'm just going to put the UK crisis text line. UK crisis. Be nice if I can spell. Crisis text line. Uh-oh. Oh, great. Okay. Typing it again. UK crisis text line. So that should be in there. Now the number is, and by the way, it's free. Free number is 85258. Okay. So if you text that number, there will be someone who would definitely assist you. Okay, and you can open up and let them know what's going on. And you also have access to GPs, because I know that this is a serious matter, and I really do know that the GP assistance is available for the physical self-harm, but I know that if you self-harm is self-harm, so I know that we're qualifying it because we're an online vendor, if you like. So we're focusing on the digital self-harm. Self-harm, full stop, is a thing, and it's something that we must take seriously too. So I'm not diminishing how important physical self-harm is. I just don't know. I don't have as much information as I do with the so please take it to heart that I'm in no way relegating how important, more so if you ask me, that self-harm, physical self-harm is. That's a big thing. I'm just not equipped to handle that. But if that is an issue also, these text lines, the crisis text lines, can still offer a lot of support, okay? But if you involve your GP, they will refer you to a local mental health practitioner who would be able to assist you further, okay? It is important that you note those numbers and use it effectively to address those things. So those are the treatments, not really treatments, but those are the things that I know for now anyway. I can tell you that this is not the end of our discussion around digital self-harm. I think it's in March that there's a self-harm awareness week, maybe earlier, but I think it's March. So we'll do something when the National Day or National Week is being celebrated to give and bring more awareness. That's our passion. That's exactly what we want to do. And so to answer my own question, is digital self-harm a thing? It is. Okay? It is. Even though we didn't have the chat I wanted from you who attended, I've been able to put things out there. And you can also always, go back, rewind, and avail yourself with this information. Like I mentioned at the beginning, none of this is exhaustive. I'll put the links to where I got most of this information. It's nice to know that others are doing the research and I'm able to, share their research with you. That's important. That's important. I actually believe that there were a lot of forces that didn't want this to happen, because I have a system set up here, and I forgot to charge the batteries of my main camera, and so you may find that I'm not really looking like I would normally look at you. See, this is where my camera is supposed to be, and it's not there. It's there, but it's not on. It's not coming on. So I'm looking at the secondary camera, which is doing a good job, I would think, but it's not my main camera. Okay, so now I'm looking at you really, but I'm looking up to you. This is where the camera is supposed to be. So when you see my head come down this way, it's because that's where I'm normally used to looking straight at, and I don't mind giving this all away, just that's where my camera is, okay? But I know to look there, so I'm looking at you now, and I hope that this information has been useful to you, okay? That's exactly what we do on the channel. Just want you to have information. So if I only had one person attend today, for example, as long as that one person promises to get this information out to others, my job is done. One person at a time is my motto, okay? I'm not greedy. I just want one person to take this information and use it and be a blessing to others, okay? So it is a thing. Answering that question, it is a thing. And I'm hoping that you've been furnished with information. So by way of summary, we started by defining what digital self-harm is and whether it's a thing. We've answered that question. It is a thing, and it's not to be ignored, okay? So intentionally doing things to hurt oneself is what digital self-harm is. Putting out negative information about yourself online. You are putting it out rather than others. That's digital self-harm. And most kids, from the research done, do it to seek attention. They could be underlining, yes, that's a good point. They could be underlying issues that are masking the behavior, which we can't ignore. And I mentioned it. You could be the person could be cyberbullied, and they're now hitting out or manifesting it in a different way. You're very welcome, Rose. Thank you for your constant support. Thank you so much. Let me just put what Rose has encouraged me with. Okay, it's important. Let's see. So Rose says, thank you. Okay. So you guys don't think I was talking to myself. Thank you, Rose, for helping out. Okay, so we can't ignore that there could be underlying issues that are birthing this manifestation of digital self-harm. Okay, so we need to keep an eye out and make sure that we are, doing all we can to address and help assist a young one. We talked about open communication, open and honest communication. We talked about having an open mind and doing things that do not push our kids away, because we need to know. Without really being aggressive or nosy, we need to know. Parents can't be off duty. I pray that no one I'm connected to would consider child rearing or upbringing so difficult that they ignore this issue. Okay? So we're extending what we should do as parents offline to online. That's all. Okay? That's all. And so we decided to get this information to you the way we knew how. Like I said, in 2023, we'll do another video just to, give our support to the community as the whole world will be celebrating self-harm week or something along those lines, and we'll keep you all abreast of what's coming. Okay? Yes, like I said, it's an odd one. 7:30 on a Monday evening is not the best time to have a Q&A, but hey, things like this will happen very often in 2023. And in fact, perhaps I should use this to announce that we are going to update or change the day that we do our live Q&A. I'm going to take time one day before the end of the year and make an assessment. And I will not just be using my mind. I'll go to the back end of YouTube and look at the analytics. Tongue twister. I'll go there and look at the portal information and find out, believe me, I can find out through the analysis I will do, the day or days, the time that you prefer or you get to watch the platform, the material on the platform. Okay? And through that, I'll be able to make a judgment call on the best day for our live Q&A. And that's even if it includes our international members, because we know that they do that. If, for example, on the live Q&A day, we have, for argument's sake, 20 people, but we now notice that 50 watch the offline content or the archived content, the replay. And then we can tell what time they watch it or they, get to look at that material. Then we'll adjust. So that's how I'm going to make that call on adjusting it and make this live Q&A more active than it currently is. Okay? All right, I'm going to release you. There's no point keeping you. But before we go, we always like giving you an opportunity to become a part of this family. Now, I urge you, if you're here already, and I can see a few of you are here, look at the channel you're watching to see if you are subscribed to this channel. If you're not, then it's a beautiful time to be a part, okay, of this great community. We release videos every week, and then on the currently in 2022, the last, which is this is the last for the year, the last live Q&A of 2022 is this one. So what we've been doing prior is to have a live Q&A at the end of the month. So we'll have it at the end of the month, but it will no longer be a Saturday. Okay, we'll announce the day and the time before. Actually, we'll announce the day and the time when we release our next video. Okay, so the channel will take. Are we really taking a break? What's today? Today is the 19th. So we're going to take a. We're going to take a break. I don't know. But before the first video, on the first video of 2023, we'll announce when we will have our live Q&A at the end of the month. It could be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Definitely not Sunday, okay? Okay, I know that it's definitely not going to be Saturday, and it's definitely not going to be Sunday. So it will be a weekday. That I know, okay? Yeah, I've given it out. It's going to be a weekday, but when and what time will be announced at the first on the first video of 2023. Okay, it's been nice having you with me, the few of you. I love speaking, I love chatting. I did it solo today, apart from Rose, who saved me. Rose, thank you. The others may do so during when they watch the replay, but I've been your host, Lawrence Edem, until the next video comes to you. God bless and goodbye.